Center. This morning, we were very proud to announce the appointment of Axel Schuster as the club's new sporting director. In a moment, Whitecaps co-owner Jeff Mallett will say a few words and introduce Axel. At that time, there will be some short comments, and then we'll be open to your questions. We ask you at that time to please use a microphone, identify yourself and your affiliation. Following that press conference, we'll have some availability for one-on-one interviews. And with that, I'll hand it over to co-owner Jeff Mallett.
Thanks, Tom, and good morning, everyone in this room, and good evening in Germany for family and friends for Axel. But one of those days in the club's history that just feels a little extra special. It was about 100 days ago we let our thoughts known that we were making a change at the club and moving forward to do a global search for a sporting director and creating that position and allowing that to be a part of our growth strategy over the next several years as a critical part of it. When I say global, I mean global. We, through a great recruiting relationship with the top firms in the world in the sporting, especially in the football area, we literally scoured the top candidates around the world. And one great thing to do is the interest level was extremely high by world-class people from all different leagues across there. But it became really evident very quickly in the first set of sessions meeting in London with Axel and the immediate connection of FC Mainz and sort of what happened there and had the true underpinnings of what's there are a lot of similarities with where we are with the Whitecaps, and of course went from there on to Schalke and a couple of coaches that we may have heard of under his watch. But to me, it's not only a big day for the club, but it's a big day for Soccer Canada. This is really bringing somebody into the Soccer Canada family, to bring in somebody who will, whether you're at one of our clinics in Squamish or whether you're at our Academy Center in Prince Edward Island or whether you're Rusty Tybert with 100+ caps in a Whitecaps jersey, it's a day that all of us should celebrate. And I personally want to officially welcome you to the football club. Our fans, our supporters, our business partners, everybody has been looking forward to this day. And on behalf of Greg Kerfoot, Steve Nash, and Steve Lusso, our other ownership partners, this is one where we really feel like we can't wait to begin officially working with you as we go forward to build the club. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody. I'm really excited about this job, about this challenge that is ahead of us, and I'm really looking forward to work even with you together, because you are also a very important part of my work field and everything we have to do, because we are working in a business that is there where we want to entertain people, and we need you to transport our informations about that what you want to do, and we need you to give the people an idea what we want to develop within the next years. So I'm looking really forward. I'm absolutely used to work with journalists and media people, but now it's the moment where, yeah, I wait for so many days. Everybody asked me to be a ghost in the last days. I'm here since Tuesday and don't appear, don't meet people. So it was a little bit complicated. I was like a horse in the starting box, waiting. And now it's a moment where I'm really happy that the things can be started right now. And I'm really happy that I'm here. It's a lot of work in front of us. We have to do a lot of steps of development, but yet in this moment I have the feeling we can start right now.
Thank you, Axel. Mark, what does this put this day in perspective for us?
No, it's great. From the time we were talking about it, we were seeing the club growing and the steps we needed to make as a club to grow. We see it as another step, an important piece that's going to add a lot to the club. And I don't think we're done yet with this. We still have a lot of things we want to grow in as a club. So we see it as a very exciting moment and an important piece for what we want to do moving forward.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll take your questions. Again, please use a microphone and state your name and affiliation. We'll start here with Corey.
Corey Basso from TSN 1040. First of all, welcome to Vancouver, Mr. Schuster. Just a couple questions for you, really. When did conversations begin between you and the club to make this move a thing? What do you expect your biggest challenge will be now that you're in the role? And if you could pinpoint one experience or point on your resume that makes you most qualified for this position, what would it be?
I'm only trying to. Do you know the date?
I can't remember. So we're
It's some months ago. 2
yeah.
months ago?
It was
3 months ago.
early September.
Early September. I haven't that in my mind right now. It's some months ago. The second question was
Biggest challenge.
the biggest. Yeah. Okay. The biggest challenge is to make now the right decisions to make the first step. I said to the owners, I am only the right person if they are okay with that I don't want to change something in principle. I want to make a step-by-step development on an existing basis here, and we want to push everybody hard in this club to make now the right decisions to reach the first target, to make the first step. Of course, we are already in the middle of a transfer period, even if the window is open at January, but everybody is still, Mark and his team have been traveling around a lot. So we are not comfort with time. So we have to start immediately, and we have to find the right decisions. So this will be the biggest challenge right now, because I want everybody to see process, and I want to sit together with you in 1 year, that there's one thing that you agree with me, that there have been process and there have been a development. And I don't speak about targets, I only speak about the first steps. And okay, we have to make the right transfers right now, in and out. Out doesn't always mean that the player is not good player, but maybe he do not fit the philosophy. And we have to find the exact right profiles to come in. To be short of time and a little bit under pressure is not always the best advisor. But yeah, I'm optimistic that we do a good job. That is the biggest challenge right now. And what's the
Biggest point on your resume or experience you've had in world football that you feel qualifies you most for this job?
Yeah, as Jeff said, I said to him already in London as we met, the whole situation here and everything we want to do within the next years reminds me a little bit on the situation in Mainz. Mainz was less, not that good developed at that moment I was there like this club. This club is some steps ahead, but of course we are another competition here, right? Here now. But it was nearby the same. We have been a very small club. There have been some others who spend more money, who seems to be bigger, more attractive or everything. And we thought about how we can be successful in this league, how we can improve. And we find good ways to do that. The first thing was to define ourselves for a developing club, for a club that makes transitions for players, to be a step on the ladder in the development of players, and then to find the right profiles who are ready to come to Mainz to make the next step, to leave to a bigger club. And then with that to regenerate money, to invest again in the team. And we have been very straight with our decisions. We have been very successful. because I think sometimes we had to make hard decisions, and not everybody likes the decisions, but we always trust that it is the right way. And so I think it is a little bit comparable to this situation. The club had its worst season ever in the last season. I don't know ever.
Not good.
Not everybody knows, but and we now have to make progress. That is what I said. I want to make step-by-step development with sustainability, and that is also something we always did in Mainz. We said we don't want to overpace. We don't want to reach us 2 or 3 steps in once with the danger to fall back again. So, and we had to build up everything there. And we have not been we have not been a big group, and we have been only good people with good energy. And this is also something I found here as well. A lot of people with passion and energy for this job, for this club. All of them want to make it happen. All of them gives a little bit more than a normal employee gives, even after such a year last year. And now it is up to us to find the right strategy and to find the right pathway to bring all the energy together. Then we have to make some right decisions and to move on step by step. And in Mainz, we developed everything. We had no scouting department. We had not even scouts. As I started in Mainz, I have been one of 3 employees who was not a player or a coach. There was nothing more. This club is on a much higher level right now, but we also have to go all the steps. And yeah, we will put on high targets, but I hope everybody understand, and I hope you can give that to the people, that I'm not Harry Potter. I cannot make magical things, but I want that everybody understand and also see the result that we are making development and progress.
Jim Morse with Canadian Press. 2 questions, one for Mr. Mallet and one for Mr. Schuster. First of all, Mr. Schuster, how familiar are you with MLS soccer, the people involved, the structure? And Mr. Mallet, one concern has been the money or the ability for this club to attract, high-priced players. Will there be more money available to attract players to Vancouver?
Well, I'll start and then turn it over to Axel. But the most significant way we can show about getting the club back to not only being competitive, but fiercely competitive. We haven't opened the trophy case the last time I checked in a while. It's getting a little dusty. And in order for us to get ready to put the club in a better position, was bringing in the leader and making this first move. You have to have the right people in place and ready to go with an experienced base, so you make good investments. And the number one thing you invest in is people. So Axel would not be here if he didn't have enough look into the future and where we are as a club and where we want to go as a club, that the resources will be there to move it along with Mark and the MLS first team, and investing considerably in all aspects of the club that we have been in our player development side as well.
Yes, I studied law. I don't know if everybody knows that. That was I was at university in Mainz and studied law. And I have been always interested in rules and guidelines of leagues. And for that reason, I have been always interested in the MLS, because it's really different to everything we have in Europe. There are not big differences in Europe. So I know the rules in general. I know what's TAM and GAM and DP and everything of that. But of course, I'm really happy to have Jeff Anderson on my side, who is an expert on that, because I think nobody can expect that I'm an expert at the first day. I know the rules really good, and I will go with Greg through everything, and I want to also myself want to develop and make process. But I think I know the most important things I know, and yeah, it's nothing I fear. Yeah. It's nothing I fear, but it's always good to have Jeff on my side who knows it better than me.
Hi, Barry DeLay, Global TV, for Mark and for Axel. Obviously, it comes down to the players you can bring in here. That's what it's going to come down to. What's the relationship with both of you getting players? How does that dynamic work? And does having a guy with Axel's pedigree help bring in people to your club?
For me, like I said in the first question, another piece, but a piece with a lot of experience, a lot of network, a lot of contact. And now we help each other is what I know, the reality of what I know from MLS, from the cap, from players that we're able to attract here. Another position, in other players, the experience of and the contact and the network that Axel has. This is a team thing. You guys cannot expect that now because Axel is here, it's going to be all clean this transfer window. Everything's going to be perfect. He spoke about a process. And what I'm excited about is that every piece that is being added to the club is making the club better. So I don't see it as being my club or being Axel's club. This is the Vancouver Whitecaps. And what is happening now is another piece that is being added to help the club reach the goals that we want to reach.
Axel, just kind of all the people that you know in Europe, obviously you have your eyes on players. Has that already started where you're looking at who you want to bring and what is your sales pitch to them to bring them to Vancouver?
Yes, of course. I don't want to bring in somebody for me or I bring in. I don't like that expression because we want to bring in players. And the first thing is, and we discussed that already in the last days, the profiles that to define the exact profiles we need. And then, of course, I will use my network to find these profiles as well as in Europe or Asia or wherever. And I will never sign a player without the yes of Mark as well, because it doesn't help if I sign a player and he don't like him. So at the end, there have to be two yeses from him and me. There was, as I said, I have to be a ghost the last days. It makes really complicated to work with my network, because if I should be a ghost and nobody should know that I'm here, I cannot ask for players. I start to ask 1-2 persons, and I give them the feeling. I ask for somebody else, and I be in between. The last 3 hours, a lot of those people wrote me back. You were asking for yourself. Now it's a moment, or if we finished, it's a moment to start that. And as I said, we have to be fast with that. We have to start fast, and we have to make the right decisions. And of course, I will use my whole network. I will use all the contacts I have, because we have to make the right decisions, and it always helps to wide up the picture and to get as much information as possible.
Hi, Axel and Mark. Sam Rowan with SB Nation. Just as a follow-up to the last two questions, obviously there have, over the last month, been a lot of MLS roster decisions and deadlines taking place and lots upcoming. So for both Mark and Axel, when exactly, Axel, did you become part of the decision-making process here? Is that happening today as we announced it, or has that already been in place? And also, how do you deal with sort of hitting the ground running as decisions are happening and with decisions impending very shortly?
Should I start?
Yeah, go.
There's no decision have been done in the last days we not discussed in before. And I don't see any decisions that have been done already finally. We are on the way for a few, and I have been involved in all of that, and I'm absolutely fine with everything. And I have total trust in Mark and his group, and in Greg, who prepared all of that and are working on all of that. So I am part, since that day I had a working permit. I was not allowed to work in before for this club. and I was under contract in Schalke until this Monday. So yes, I was informed about everything. We speak about everything, and there's nothing that happened that is not okay for me.
Question for Mark. Mark, you know more about what's going on behind the scenes in the process you guys are speaking of. You had mentioned near the tail end of the year that you were kind of aiming around a December 15th kind of date to try and bring in some key players. Is that still a realistic timeline now that Axel has been appointed and you know what you know?
Yeah, and if you've been working with our staff in our club this year, and we had every week we spoke, so you can imagine that our last game was a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, a Sunday. And knowing us on Monday, we were right at it, right after the type of season we had. And since that Monday, we haven't stopped. So there was the process of us bettering the roster, the process of the negotiations or dealing with Axel on the side. And a lot of things were done in the months. But now we're in the moment where we're able to start negotiating with players, negotiating with clubs. But our targets are very clear right now. If you want a lot of answers, you could steal my computer. But our targets are clear. What we want to do is clear. Now it's a question of pulling the trigger and try to get the deals done. So yes, there was a moment of waiting in some of the key players to also have the approval of our sporting director, making sure that everybody was in the same page. Some decisions like taking options of players had to be done before. But the easy part today, it's very clear what we need, very clear what we want. Are we going to be able to get all the targets that we want? It's not going to be easy, but if we do, it's going to be very successful off-season. So we hope it's going to happen.
Just a follow-up for Mr. Schuster. The club has come out and announced, I believe it was a couple months ago, that I believe the date was January 30th, where if the fans weren't content with what they saw in the transfer in the off-season market, that they could go back on their season ticket renewals. Have you ever seen anything like that, Mr. Schuster, and how do you approach that, knowing that there is a little bit of extra pressure involved?
I don't think so, that I have seen something like that. But yes, I have not been part of this decision, and but I'm good with every decision that have been made in the last months, and I have my own idea about what we have to do to get the fans back, because to make it that attractive that there is no possibility not to go to the games. That means not always that we are always successful, but we want to be attractive. And everybody should know what we want to do. And I'm absolutely used that as something that's in Europe, that's different to here in Germany, especially because I think Germany is one of the last countries in the world where owners are not allowed to buy more than 49%. So 51% always stays in the club. And that means at the members, as Schalke, for example, is a club with 160,000 members. So I'm absolutely used to even speak with the supporters, with the fans, to make them part of everything we want to do, to let them know what we want to do. And I want them to know what our next targets and our next development steps are. And I want them to see that in the stadium. And yes, we have to go in advance to get them back. I only can ask everybody to give a little bit trust in that what we want to do, and okay, then it's up to us. But I have to tell that right now. I had a really impressive day, because today is the first day I have not to be ghost, and I was this morning at 8 o'clock. I was in downtown to apply for my SIN number. It's a very important thing in Canada. And I go to the man. I was sitting there, and then he said, you soccer, Whitecaps." My colleague next to me is a big fan of Whitecaps. And then he knocks, and he came around, and he said, "Oh no, I just read it in the internet. You are the guy." And then the woman from the other side came, "Is he the new sporting director? I have been at many games as well." And that was a really good feeling, because the first 3 people I met, 2 of them are supporters of these clubs, and they seem to be happy with that, what is going on. And now it's up to us to fulfill all the dreams or all the hopes of the people. But even to control expectations, because that is what I said, we cannot do magical things. But that is the reason why I want to speak with the people as well, with the supporters groups, to give them an idea what we want to do.
I am Luis Guimarães from Hiscan Media TV. My question will be to Mr. Mallet. Can you go through a little bit about the process of getting a new sporting director? You just go on LinkedIn and look for a sporting director? Can you just...
I wish it was that easy. Well, the sporting director, I always like to reference back to a year ago when we were fortunate and are fortunate to have Mark a part of our club and leading us on the first team, because it was upon his appointment, as we were talking longer term, he was the first to clearly identify that to get to the levels sporting director eventually will need to be a part of the club. And so that was early days on that one. We use a group called Nolan Partners, very well known in the sporting landscape globally, especially in football. Appointments at PSG, Arsenal, Man U. I can go down the list. Extremely well connected. They came in and immersed themselves here at the club to get to know behind the scenes, the culture, the people, the Greg Andersons of the world, Bobby, everybody, to get a sense of what was going on. Did an audit, then took that, did a briefing book. We got in front of, I believe there was over 42 qualified candidates that were matches that they screened all of those, got those down. So it was a very thorough, extensive process. And then Greg Kerfoot and myself traveled wherever we needed to travel to meet with everybody. Then we brought the final group out down to the final 3 to Vancouver. And they had extensive time to look at the city, to meet specific people at the club. And we had, everyone got a chance to see that. And then we made a decision, and very clearly, it's one of those times when Axel was our first choice, and ecstatic that aligned with his career aspirations and decisions to come and join us.
This is a question to, Manuel Feed from ProSoc USA. A question to Axel Schuster. You worked very closely with Christian Heidel, first at Mainz and then at Schalke. Your last year at Schalke was a very mixed bag. The results didn't exactly go your way. Lots of turmoil in the club. Player acquisitions not necessarily all working out either. What can you take away from that year, and working together with Heidel as well? What can you take from that experience, and how will it help the Whitecaps? And of course, as your first time that you are working on your own without Heidel as well.
I not agree with everything you said.
Or the results.
The results, yes, the results. But we still managed to go to the last 16 in Champions League and go out against City. Well, what can happen? And all of the profiles that didn't work that well in that year are still playing at Schalke. And now 10 of 11 starting players are from this year, and they're successful this year. That is something I mentioned before about step-by-step development, and sometimes success or even the development of the players is not always in this one direction. Sometimes there are also depths, so you have to accept that. It's complicated in a club like Schalke that is that big and with that high expectations. So I said that before, not here, that the time at Schalke widens up my network a lot. Schalke is a total different club to Mainz. They have a much better structure, infrastructure, even organization of the club. We play Champions League. You have been part of a lot of committees at UEFA, FIFA, ECA. There's a group that's called the Big Fives. So that widens up my network. Even there are so many people who want to work with Schalke, so you come to contact with them if you are in Schalke and not in Mainz, because they are not interested in a club like Mainz. What is not fair, but it's like that. We have to accept that. So, and we build up a scouting department at Schalke as well, because they have not been a scouting department. They had 3 scouts, nothing more, in the beginning as we came there. And I think I learned a lot about politics and working with supporter groups and the public, because it's much more spotlight on Schalke as in Mainz. Mainz sometimes is like it's like an unreal world, because there's no pressure. You can do things. Nobody is arguing or discussing with you about things. They let you do, and of course it was a very successful story. So at the end they trust you. In Schalke there was much more pressure, and you have to think about all of that things as well. So that's a lot of things I take, and it was a good time for me to be there. With Christian Heidel, you cannot compare that to everything that is in this club. If you have a club with 160,000 members, a club that is one of the top 3 clubs in the media interest in Germany, maybe even in Europe, it's one of the top 20. There's so much work to be done in politics and beside the sporting department. And that Christian Heidel said to me, and at the day, because I stayed in the club longer than him, he finished and they kept me. And I think at the day he left, he said to me, if I can get rid of this 75% of my working time in politics, I will leave the job again. So that gives you an impression that it was a special relationship between him and me, because he trusts me 100%, but I managed the sporting department for him, and he could concentrate on the political things. So sometimes he met the coach to get an idea. He met Domenico Tedesco, for example, sometimes once in a week at game day, or maybe a second time at the press conference or whatever. So it's a club with a budget of more than 300 million, a club with more than 1,500 employees. You cannot compare that. So to be honest, that what the owners want me to do here, I did already in Schalke. The only difference was that Christian was the person who have to sign everything at the end. But he is my best man. We have a very trustful way of working together, and he let me do all the things, and it was only to keep him updated. And okay, if you have to make the final decision, he was there to take responsibility for the final decision as well, and to make it. So it's not like you doing the job the first time alone. It's the first time he is not there, but he is still on the phone. I can ask him if I need an idea, but I will also ask Jürgen Klopp or Domenico Tedesco or so many other people in this business. But it's only to give you an idea how we worked at Schalke. And it was more the job you want me to do here, or you want me to do here. I already did at Schalke.
Yeah, just maybe to follow up, because like one of the fields I cover is the Bundesliga and spend a lot of time in Germany. And Heidel's always been the face of player acquisition. What was your role in player acquisition?
Christian Heidel was always the face of the club. Somebody wrote, I saw that this morning, that he was a sporting director. He will directly say, no, I have never been in my life a sporting director. Christian Heidel was in bus clubs more like, if I want to translate that, in a chairman. So he was responsible for the club overall. But of course he was the face. And that is what I said. He was doing 75% of his working time. He was doing political things, even to be the face and to explain things, to think about strategy, how we can promote things, how we can react on to special situations, especially if it is not going that well. But the process of signing players was always the same. The coach is one important part, and he have to say yes. And the other part is the administration part. And the only difference to here is that we have 2 yeses, and in Schalke we had 3 yeses. Because in Schalke we had a yes from Christian, from Dominic, from the head coach, and from me. And here we have 2 yeses. But as I told you, it's not comparable to the situation at all. But yes, of course, he was the face. But he had the overall responsibility for everything, and not even for sports. And that is a big difference to everything here.
Hi, this is for Axel, and if you could answer in 20 seconds, I would appreciate it because it's for television. Why, first of all, why exactly did you leave Schalke? I mean, this is as you mentioned, an amazing, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And what drew you to, after 30 years in soccer in Germany, to come to North America now? Why was it such a something that you really wanted to do?
And what was the first part of
First one, why did you leave? Were you said you were an employee there till Monday? Were you released from there, or were you? I just want a clarification of why you're not there still.
Now I understand. In 20 seconds. Okay.
20 for each.
No, to be honest, Christian Heidel left the club, I think, somewhere in February. I stayed there in active work until June or July. But then the situation was like that the new chairman spoke with me that he want to make a total new start and to bring in a lot of new people. And then it was like, okay, I was still on the contract. They kept me, but I was not working actively. That was the moment I left. And it's a part of things that can happen in this business, that somebody decides he want to have new staff, he want to make a new restart, and then you start with new people. And he put in people he worked in with before. So that was, I think, the reason. Why here? Oh, that's not 20 seconds enough. That's 25. Because I think it is a very interesting time to come here. I think it's a very special time for MLS. It is now there is the chance to find its place in this worldwide sports soccer. It is a league that can make a lot of progress within the next years, especially with the spot on 26. And I think it is very important to now find its own position in world football as a transition league, just behind the top 5s in Europe. And I'm always interested in developing, and I'm always interested in transitions. That was something we did in Mainz. And I want to be part of that. And it's for me very attractive because I feel a lot of energy, spirit, and good things going on here right now.
Okay, we'll
24,
take one more
24.
question.
That's pretty good.
We'll take one more, and then we'll do one-on-ones if you want.
Hi, Axel. JJ Adams from the Vancouver Sun. Mark has talked a lot about integration between the first team and the academy, but it's one area where the team's aspirations have maybe fallen short of results. So I'm wondering what your philosophy is, what your experience you have, and what your thoughts on that first team integration.
Of academy players?
Academy, yes.
Yeah. It's also, and I come back to the question in before, what I have, or what I have in my toolbox to make it this successful. Even in Mainz, we hadn't a successful youth academy. I was part of this youth academy at the beginning, and I became a coach their youth coach without being a coach for one day. I have not a license, nothing. I came there and asked for a job as a co-coach at the youth academy, and they said to me, you can start Monday with U12 head coach. And I said, I'm not a head coach. Yeah, nobody is a head coach. That are all fathers here. That was in, I think, 92. And at the end, as we left Mainz, that have been one of the top 3 academies in Germany, and wins the first ever German title in U19. What's a big thing with Thomas Tuchel as head coach. But there's a lot of work to do that, and you have to create a pathway from first kick to first team. You have to build up a system and strategy and a philosophy, and to bring everybody on the same page there. It's very important to coach the coaches, because they are the key to your players. It's a lot of work to be done, but you cannot overpace it as well, because you cannot say, now we want to have 5 academy players next year in the first squad. If they are not ready for that, that will not help them and not us. But we have to raise up the chance and the pathway and the quality of the players to make it happen. There's one big difference. I heard in the overall system of the Whitecaps are 22,000 kids. So this is much more players than we have in every club in Germany. So we have to be good there, because that will give us a good chance to find the rights. And at the end, for the last step, and that is also very important, we have to concentrate on high talents, on the top talents. And I don't speak about 20, I speak about a handful. And we have to make with them career plans, and we have to find always the right platform to develop them, because even that is not that easy here, because there is not such regular competition like in Europe, because distance are that great. Fully understanding for that, but even for that we have to find good solutions, and sometimes it might be we have to give somebody on loan for 1 year to get more competition somewhere else. But we have to discuss each case, and we have to look at that differently. And yeah, it's something I already did in the past, and we want to do here, but it's again something we cannot be magical, and we want to see, and we want you to see process in 1 year.